Hi, this is G-Tom Mac, and you are listening to the fabulous Gruesome Herzog. Nobody better.
This is Gruesome Herzog. My very special guest tonight is G. Tom Mac. You guys might know him from back in '87 from the song he did in The Lost Boys, Cry Little Sister. How's it going, G-Tom?
Very well, thanks, mate. How are you?
Great. I'm glad to have you on here. This is pretty exciting.
Yeah, good to be here.
Yeah, the reason why I have you on here is basically is because you have a new album coming out later on in July, and you also have 5 songs in a movie, Merging Past, that's coming out sometime this year. But then again, you probably hear it all the time. You've done a lot of songs in the movies in the 80s and the 90s, and even in The Lost Boys, The Tribe. But your biggest hit to me is Cry Little Sister and Lost Boys. And that's a fan favorite, I can guarantee you, from a lot of 40-some-year-olds going up. You know?
Yeah, and some 16-year-olds and 20-year-olds as well.
Yep. Big song.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. You know, I never would have imagined when I wrote that song for the Lost Boys movie as a theme, when Joel Schumacher had asked me to write something as a theme for the movie. I loved it. Obviously passionate about what it came up with, but never thought that it would go on to have the life it had,
Right.
And new generations coming up with it, and to, Eminem to have sampled me and won a Grammy last week, actually, for the album Recovery. So it's pretty amazing just to see where, and one great thing about that song, it's made fans aware of my other stuff now, so that's a great attribute to that song I wrote back 22 years ago, whenever it was. Yeah.
Well, what's so amazing about that song is the voice that you do it. I mean, how high you go. I mean, how you can hold it. That's just that is so catchy in that song. It sounds great.
Yeah,
it sounds great in an iPod and headphones.
Yeah, I thank you. I can't believe that I can still hold that note.
It
was interesting at the Grammys the other night, when we were there, watching Mick Jagger doing his Solomon Burke tribute, and it was amazing. I'm going, well, he's fucking older than I am, and so I should be able to hold that note and Cry Little Sister when I get to be his age,
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, it's incredible,
I even heard the remix. I even heard the remix too.
The remix of Cry Little Sister.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, there's a few of them. The one I did one with these two DJs in 2003 in England. It went to number 1.
Wow.
It was sort of a club version of that.
Yep.
And then I did a version for True Blood as well.
That's the version that I have.
Yeah, it was an interesting sort of take on it. They had asked me if I'd come up with something for the show, which they've not used yet, but they're threatening to use it sometime, either this season or the closing season of True Blood, whenever that is. But we shot a little video of it, and it was kind of cool. I've never, it's a sign of a good song, really, and I'm not patting myself on the back, but I never imagined it ever that I could take it and morph it into kind of a bluesy thing like that, And when I sat down with my national guitar and just started mucking around a bit, it kind of worked, so we just decided to make a little video on it as well.
Yeah, but the amazing part about you is you also did a song for another movie back in '82 that is today is probably I guess you can say a cult favorite even today. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. The Look in Your Eyes. I mean, come on, that's a big fan favorite also.
Yeah, I thought that song would be the song that would go on to build my career. Honestly, I never would have imagined Cry Little Sister, but yeah, that was an interesting time. Cameron Crowe, who wrote Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and it was directed by Amy Heckerling, but Cameron was a fan of the song, and it went in a really cool little scene in the movie, and the soundtrack went on to sell quite a few million at that time. Mm-hmm. So it was the very early days, not early days, it was early days of me in my career getting on an album deal and getting music in movies and that kind of stuff. So it was very new and fresh, but it was an interesting time with all of that as well.
An amazing part about it is the next one that you did a song for, which I also seen in the movie, which is also a big hit today because Tom Cruise is in it. It's All the Right Moves in '83. Mr. Popularity.
Mr. Popularity, yeah, that's right. It was really interesting. It was sort of I'll tell you a funny story about that. They had temped in, what they mean temp, meaning like when they were messing around with the editing of the film, with the music, they put in Prince's Little Red Corvette, and they couldn't get the license arrangement on it, meaning agreement or whatever. So the director had asked, had gotten in touch with the music supervisor, said, who can come up with something that has that kind of thing? He said, I've got just a guy. And so I got a ring, and I just said, well, I don't want to rewrite Little Red Corvette, So I just went in the studio and, messed around with something, and I came up with that song, and it just worked like a charm for them. So, bit of falsetto voice in there and what have you. But it was really fun, actually. And the interesting thing is that there was never a soundtrack to that album. So, and I know we'll talk about this, but I'm releasing an album in late March that is my greatest movie and TV songs from the vault, if you will, of songs that never were on soundtracks. I mean, I did, and I am putting "The Look in Your Eyes," which was on the Fast Times at Ridgemont High soundtrack. But I'm releasing several songs that were never ever released. That never was a soundtrack to. So that being one of them, Mr. Popularity from All the Right Moves.
Well, what was amazing about your span in the 80s is you hit two genres. You hit the teenage, movies like, All the Right Moves and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Then you also hit the horror genre. Well, Lost Boys is vampire, but it's considered in the horror genre anyways. And then you done The Lonely Guy with Steve Martin. Some good songs there as well. So you hit all the levels in the 80s. So that kind of helped you also balance out what you've done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, in the midst of all of that, it's interesting. I was making my own albums, and I'm going on the road, and I'd come back into town, and there would be a movie that I would be up for, and some I would get, and some I wouldn't. But it was a very interesting time because I've always loved film. In fact, when I was a kid, I always thought I was going to be a director or a screenwriter or something. But of course, music sort of overpowered me, and that was the thing I gravitated to. But yeah, I mean, I made a few albums back then during that period of time that were very, I don't know, they were adventurous, I suppose, but I'm still proud of them. And and I had the good fortune of other people recording my songs as well, like Kiss and Carly Simon and all these people. So it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it just, you mentioned about that you wanted to be, you said a screenwriter, right? Is that what you said?
Well, I said that when I was a kid, when I was 10, 11 years old, we were all imagining something, right? What we're going to be. But I was either a director or a screenwriter,
Right. But that voice, you did a great thing. I mean, I can't get over, the Cry Little Sister. I mean, I've heard a lot of songs over the years, and there's a lot of good singers. But that song, I said it before, it's probably going to sound like a broken record, but that song it's a very, very catchy song. I can't say it enough.
It's unbelievable the amount of emails and in the past and now the Facebook stuff. And more importantly, when I go out and do shows, the fans, I mean, it's amazing how the effect it's had on so many people's lives. I mean, even before the Internet kicked in, and I remember, I think it was about 1990 or 91, I remember getting a call from somebody in, I don't know what department at Atlantic Record, maybe the mail room, because it was like 3 bags of mail up there that addressed to me regarding Cry Little Sister, and I got this call saying, hey, could you come up and pick these bags up because there's a significant amount of fan mail to you regarding your song and the Lost Boys. And I said, well, yeah, sure, so it had accumulated, over a couple of years. So I went up there with a friend of mine, and I was living in New York at the time. So we, lugged the bags down into the cab, got back to my apartment, and I was looking at these literal physical mail, and I was going, my God, I mean, people telling me their brother died to this song because he got, terminally ill or something. I mean, it was just from extremes to that, to getting married to a song and people have played it at funerals, and it was just phenomenal. Because I had really no idea. I mean, I knew the soundtrack had sold well, but I didn't know. I'd really not gone on the road during that time because I was just really kind of been fed up with going out on the road, and
right.
you know, I'd been beaten up at that phase of my life, but I was still writing and recording, you know, producing other people. You know, at that time I started getting into that a bit, but I had no idea that this whole Cry Little Sister world was going on, you know, out there and affecting people. So come around the mid-'90s to late, you know, I started to just think it out a bit more, and in the advent of the Internet, obviously I was able to communicate a lot more with fans and what have you, and got my bum back out on the road again and started to, you know, take advantage, or not take advantage, but just certainly give the people, you know, letting them know who, you know, what I am and what I do, and more importantly, communicate with the fans, you know, because that's really what it's about, you know.
Yep, and you mentioned the 90s. You've done a song called One World for Us and Born to be Wild. Kicking and Screaming, another great
movie nobody knows except for a bunch of parents that took their kids to see it. But I really loved the song, you know.
Yep.
It was like, so you know this movie then, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it was crazy, and a lot of people do. I mean, there's a whole generation of kids now that their parents took them to see this little movie that are now 18 and know this song, you know, and it's crazy. But, yeah, it was a kind of, it was a Warner Brothers film, and it was geared towards the Free Willy crowd, if you will, you know. Free Willy had come out, and this was a movie. I called it about Free Willy on land because it was about an ape being captured and let go and all that, you know.
Yep.
But you know, it was a piece of fluff of a movie, but it was fun to have written that song for it. And you know, the thing about writing songs for music, no matter, sometimes they're not the greatest movies in the world, but it's not your fault that the movie, as long as you can really compliment the best you can, and you walk away from it, and the audience goes, well, the movie was crap, but that song was pretty good, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
That's the whole idea, you know? So you can't be proud about every movie you do.
Well, it's funny you mention that. My daughter, Kayla, she was born in 92, and I took her to see, well, actually I took her with me to see Born to be Wild. It's funny you mention that because she was 3.
Wow.
You usually don't take 3-year-olds to a movie theater. I said, you know what the heck? But
I know, yeah.
But Kicking and Screaming is another one that I really enjoyed with my daughter. The song you sang was In a Twilight Moment. It's amazing.
Well, you got to remember, there's 2 Kicking and Screamings, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I always try to differentiate that. There was a Kicking and Screaming with Colin Farrell in it.
Yes.
Kicking and Screaming, I don't know if that's the one you're referring to, but
no.
Oh, you are referring to the
95
Parker Posey. Boy, you are on your game.
Oh yeah, I try to.
I love this interview.
I try to be.
You got 10 points there, mate. I didn't actually sing that song in the movie. It was a Noah Baumbach directed film, who's a wonderful director and writer. He's done a few other films, which I can't remember right now. One with Ben Stiller that just came out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, what was your question about that movie,
nothing.
man?
Nothing. I'm trying to get the listeners an idea of what you've done in the past. Yeah,
it was kind of a jazzy song, and I had an amazing artist from the 70s, actually. Her name was Phoebe Snow. Had a lot of hits back then, you know, kind of folky, you know, she did a duet with Paul Simon back in the day, and
love her.
Yeah, really phenomenal classic singer. And I had her come in the studio because Noah Baumbach, the director, wanted a female voice, and I wrote this kind of Cole Porter-esque kind of song, and she came in and sang it, and it was really great to have, had her voice on this song. Yeah, in a twilight moment. You're right.
And you've also done some TV series. No, you're going to laugh at me at this one, but there's one I do remember. And it's one of my favorite TV shows growing up, well, not growing up, but in the 90s. Roseanne show. You written a song.
God, you are digging up stuff. I can't believe I forgot about it.
You written a song called Right to the End.
That's right. That is so right. And I'd never even saw the episode. To be really honest with you, a lot of my songs are in TV shows, even to this day, and I've never seen them, but I imagine sometime I'll get around to seeing them.
Yeah.
But the Roseanne, wow. How did it sound? How did it work? Tell me.
It worked good, but, anything that has to do with the Roseanne show, I mean, that's one show that I know that they can pull anything off. David Crosby, of course you know who that is.
Yeah, right.
He was in there. But, it's amazing, when I heard the song Cry Little Sister, I always, over the years, who sang that? And then my mom always gets mad at me all the time, but I do a lot of research. It's impulsive. If I like someone's song, I'm always looking to see, what else did he do? And that's what I did over the years. I was hooked. You had me hooked on that one song.
Wow. Yeah, it's interesting, though. You obviously are a lot more deeper into the research because you have a sort of, because this is what you do, interviewing people. But even though I've had other people interview me, journalists and what have you, and they certainly didn't dig up Roseanne for me, my song in the Roseanne show. It's funny because I used to, you get your royalty statements, and I used to see a lot of these shows and Roseanne on there going, what song? I mean, I'd see the song, and I go, wow, they used that in that show, And,
now, there's one that I was shocked that you've written a song for. It's called The Game, From Justin to Kelly.
I was shocked, too.
How did you ever get involved with that?
It was one of those things at the time, my publisher at DreamWorks, when I was signed there as a writer I guess it must have been about 97, 98, said, God, the director of this film really wants something that's kind of cutting edge but sort of poppy, and he loves your stuff. Can you come up with something? And I said, well, Justin to Kelly, it's not quite, what I suppose. Let me see what I can do. So I got with a mate of mine back in New York, and they were looking for something that was sort of leaning towards George Michael meets Michael Jackson meets, I don't know, whatever. And so we just started mucking around with a track, and I had this melody. I had already written a vibe, and then we went to the studio and, came up with this track. I didn't sing on that, by the way. We brought in a singer to sing on that, this guy, Gabriel K., and we did a really good job. But it was very, it was a bit different, a bit of a stretch, but, that's good for you every once in a while to take you out of what I've always had a bit of a chameleon thing about me that I was able to sort of go in, not to pat myself on the back, but I've enjoyed just delving into other kinds of music and, seeing what it is. Because pop music really is hard to write. Nobody realizes that, there are some pop things that, you question if it was really hard to write, but a really good pop song is hard. It's not like it's just, okay, did it, I'm done. All those guys like Dr. Luke and, Red One and all those guys, they spend time crafting those songs, and getting the production just, my hat's off to that.
Yeah, and there's one.
But I'm surprised that I did that, From Justin to Kelly, too.
I didn't watch it. I won't, but.
I didn't see, I just saw the scene because they had actually sent me the scene they wanted me to write the song for. And,
work is
so
work.
I'd never watched the whole thing, so yeah.
Now this next one I'm going to shock you on. And The Skulls 3 in 2004. You've written I guess it's a instrumental version. That's what the thrill really is.
Oh yeah, that's right. Skulls 3. Yeah, it was one of I didn't write that song. They basically licensed it.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't something I just in the world in which we do these, sometimes it's like you do specifically write something, like Born to Be Wild, I wrote that song for the movie,
right.
And Cry Little Sister, obviously, for Lost Boys and things like that. But there is this thing when they find a piece of music, they go to my publisher and say, hey, we want to license this song because it works very well. That was another one, too. I finally saw that movie, and they utilized it in, again, I'm not singing on that. There was a girl who actually... I had done that song for Felicity, and they were looking for some girl they wanted to have. It was almost going to be the theme song to Felicity, actually. So basically, what DreamWorks did at the time is they, Skulls 3 and everybody else that wanted to go at having that song in their movie or TV show were given a license. Yeah.
Yep. And then Trick or Treat in 2007, which was released in 2009. I think it took 2 years for the movie to get released. It's an alright movie.
The movie that was, I know. It's I've never seen that film either, other than the fact that the director was very passionate about Cry Little Sister, and they basically took my version from the remix that I did in England at the time. That I told you earlier about, that went to #1.
Yep.
Yeah, they utilized that. And how'd that sound? I've never
sounded
really
good.
It.
Sounded. It actually. I hate saying this, but I don't want to hurt no one's feelings, but the song actually made the movie better.
Oh well, yeah. Exactly. Well, it's like, that can happen sometimes. People stick around because the music's good. Not crazy about this movie.
Yeah.
Maybe the music will keep me intrigued. Hardly really the case, because you really got to have a good movie. But thank you anyway.
Yeah,
that's nice to hear.
And I'm old school, so I'm stuck on the original Lost Boys. Now I do own the remakes, which I haven't watched them yet, and I don't know why I'm dragging my feet and watching them. I guess I don't want it to ruin it, from my experiences from the original. But as you know, the Lost Boys, the Tribe, you also have Cry Little Sister in there as well. Yes, in the movie, a band called Heighten did a cover of it. Okay. Yeah. Now, as you know, you have a lot of new stuff. You have a new album coming out. But what I'd like to start with first, I have to plug this because I'm really dying to see this. As you know, I interviewed Thomas Churchill. Emerging Past, you've done 5 tracks for the soundtrack. And one of your songs that I've watched on YouTube, I actually own the one song, all the songs, but So I Bear. Now, if anybody out there that has not seen the video or heard this song, you can easily go to G. Tom's website. What is your website address for that?
gtommac.com.
Okay. And go on there, and there's a YouTube video of him singing So I Bear. I want you guys to check this song out. Make sure you send me some emails and let me know what you think, because this song, I heard it once, and I loved it, and I constantly play it. Actually, it's in my iPod and so forth. But do you want to explain to listeners the 5 tracks, in case they haven't bought the soundtrack yet, the 5 tracks that you have on Merging Past?
Yeah, I was at the time, right before I met with the director, Tom, with his interest in me getting on board to score the film, which is what I did, by the way.
Right.
And I scored it and helped put all the songs in the movie, actually, just grabbing other artists and what have you, not just my own songs. But I was working on I just started to work on the album that I was just telling you about. It's coming out in July.
Yep.
So there was a few songs already from that album that were already almost ready to finalize mixes and everything. So they seemed to work quite well for the film, as we were, putting music up against the screen from a song's perspective, not the score. But and then So I Bear, I was kind of working on a track already. I had already written that before even seeing the film, the actual music track. And then once I saw the film, I said, all right, well, I started to write something. I don't like to write lyrics about what's in the movie. I try to ride the overall feel of the film, like I did with My Little Sister and any other movie for that matter. So it was, it was a very, I always try to use my own personal, what I'm going through at the time, to apply lyrically as well. So it just seemed to be a natural fit, and that song seemed to work as its theme song for the film. So, or thematically, if you will. It just kind of worked out. And it's up on YouTube, and you can certainly see it there as well. So it's cool.
Well, to be honest with you, when I watched that YouTube video before I got the track, I was amazed after all these years like you said, that you actually held it. And I was so amazed. I mean, that song, honestly, I've been listening to Cry Little Sister all the time, so I really didn't listen to your music constantly for one song, you know what I mean? I've heard them, but now So I Bear I listen to a lot myself. And to really throw back in time, you actually made an album. I was 14 when it came out, and obviously I didn't buy it until like 1989 or something when I did some research on you. It's called No Looking Back. Gerard McMahon.
That's right. Yeah, it was on Warner Brothers.
Yes, and I actually just recently went out and purchased this again on CD.
Wow.
And like I said, like I told you before, if a certain artist has my interest in the vocal style or anything, I'm hooked. And believe it or not, me coming from the 80s hair metal, 80s heavy metal scene back in the 80s, grew up in the 80s, but I'm a versatile.
Rock on.
I'm versatile because I even like some old 80s country as well, because I grew up on country with my parents. But no.
Hey, I love that stuff.
Now, is that album still selling? Is it still selling for you?
What, the No Looking Back album?
Yes.
Well, it's out of circulation. Okay. I don't know.
LP.
What we're trying to do, what I am going to do, is to take my very first album, which is called Blue Rue, that I did in 1981, 82.
Wow.
And re-release that, and because there's really some cool stuff on that album, and the No Looking Back album, which came out a few years later, and then also as an album in the 80s that I did right before I did Cry Little Sister on Atlantic, called Foreign Papers, which hardly anybody knows about this album, and which is kind of a shame. I had the worst luck when, it was either with releasing albums. Either the payola scan was going on at the time, I don't know, with radio, and people were getting busted for payola, and my record could come out. I literally had, this is not a lie, I tell you, not one word of a lie, but 2 albums, No Looking Back and Foreign Papers. Both times my record was released, they just started to get some heat at radio, and then the payola scan, everybody was, the FBI was busting all of radio. So at that time, that's all we had, to get a break. And then I would just go out and beat myself up on the road, and there would be, 50 people in the audience, and I would be getting great reviews and all of that stuff. But it just, after a while, it wore on your sort of spirit, and you go, why am I doing this? And I thought, I started to think, well, maybe I should be writing and producing other people and not, going out and doing this. You get very confused, especially when you're young and you really put your life into an album, and I always equate it to what it must be like for a movie director when they've made this movie. If we're like, it spent all this time, it's the same kind of thing, and it doesn't do well. But you just pick up and I'm glad that I went through what I went through, meaning writing and producing, other people like Roger Daltrey and, Robert Plant and the likes of so many different artists. And I really had it was very good for me in the sense to say, okay, I'm putting away my solo career for a couple of years. And it was really right in around the time I did Cry Little Sister for the Lost Boys movie that I just stopped performing.
Right.
So, and as I was telling you earlier, before we were on air, it was one of those things where I had no idea, that Cry Little Sister was exploding like it was. And of course, once the DVD came out of Cry Little Sister, or rather the VHS and then into DVD, it just kept selling, and there was this whole other generation that was getting into the movie and the song. So it's and to this day, it's like Warner Brothers' number 7 best DVD seller of all time. So that's a lot, and when you consider the amount of films over there, that's a pretty high rated. It's in the top 10.
Yep.
But I never would have imagined, or I didn't imagine all of that was going to happen. So it's just, you just never know where it takes you. You know, I'm really a big believer in, you know, fate and just following it as opposed to making your own path. I mean, you have to do some creating of your own path, but, you know, yeah, I think you know, I'm pleased with where I am now, and no regrets, really.
Well, you speaking of Roger Daltrey, another great singer, but he had some nice words.
Yeah, he did all right for himself, didn't he?
Yeah. He has some nice words about you. Your debut album in 2000, the G. Tom Mac. Did you see what he wrote?
I don't remember. You know, honestly, I know a lot of people wrote a lot of things, but what did he say?
I'm such a research freak.
Okay.
He
All
says,
right,
by far one of my favorite records in a long time. G. Tom Mac's got rock and pop right where it should be.
Oh, well, that's nice for that little scruff to say that.
Actually,
he's a great mate. I mean, he's my he's my best friend.
Yep.
You know,
and a
he's
damn
one
good
of my
album.
best friends, and has been. You know, and I really, you know, listen, I'm friends with a lot of the artists that I've worked with, but he and I became very close after that album, Rocks in the Head, that I wrote and produced for him. And, you know, we spent a lot of time, very similar backgrounds, not just because we're English, but, you know, he's a bit older than I am, but there's very working class histories, and I had that as well, so. And he's a wonderful human being. I can't say enough good things for him. He has this wonderful charity in England that he raises money for every year, called the Cancer Trust for Children, which builds extensions on hospitals for children with cancer. And,
right.
You know, I try to do and spread the word as much as I can about that as well, because it's such a great cause.
Yes, it is. You know, it's funny, real quick, if you don't mind. Roger Daltrey, as you know, The Who. Everybody likes The Who. But you know my favorite album that he ever did? And it's weird. It was back in '85, Under a Raging Moon. That
brilliant album.
I love that album. I mean,
it's one of my I think it's the only solo album that I really, you know, I mean, I like Rocks in the Head, but I love that album.
Yep.
It's a great solo album.
It's one of my favorite drummers, Cozy Powell, who passed away in a car accident. As you know, that's a tribute to him. That last song, Under a Raging Moon.
Right, yeah.
Amazing. All right, well, I don't want to bore you to death about that. But,
no, it's not boring.
But it's the career that you have, like you said, you've been through the ins and the outs, and you've hit stardom, I think, from the Lost Boys soundtrack. And it can only get better. And now you have a new album. Well, actually, if you want, we can talk about, you have, like you said, you have the greatest hit songs from the 80s movies that's getting released. You said
well, let's not say greatest hits, because I didn't have enough hits in the 80s, and thank God I did.
Well,
you know, the interesting thing is, just to say this, in a lot of ways, I'm glad I didn't have like these hits in the 80s that everybody else did. I mean, I guess I would have accepted that if it, but there's a certain thing about Cry Little Sister of how long it's lasted, and it has a vibe about it that is sort of timeless. I'll never forget the day. There's a bit of history, and we'll get into talking about the music from the film and TV vault in a minute that I'm going to put out in March. But yeah, I mean, I almost didn't sing Cry Little Sister in the movie Lost Boys. They were the record company Atlantic loved, because Joel Schumacher wanted that to be the theme song of the film. The record company, said, well, we've got to get a famous person to sing it, meaning like they wanted Phil Collins to do it. They had, who else did they have it? Steve Perry, all these singers that were just like, you know, and I was totally cool about it. Yeah, you know, go on, you know, at that point I'd sort of like, I'd had enough of just being the artist, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then Joel said, no, it's got to be G, you know, I've got to have him singing this. And, you know, and I remember the A&R guy at the time, he wanted to be on my good side. He said, listen, we love your voice, and the track, but it's just too futuristic sounding. And I'm going like, that's part. He said, but I hope. And I said, he said, I hope I didn't offend you. This is what he says to me. I said, quite frankly, you highly complimented me. If this sounds futuristic, it means that the song's going to have a life forever. So why don't you bloody well keep it the way it is then? And he said, well, we can't because we need to have marquee value, and all that crap.
Give me a
But,
break.
so anyway, Joel Schumacher, the director, and Richard Donner, the producer, just said, that's it. G's doing it. It was under the name Gerard McMahon. But G is doing it for the soundtrack, that's it. And that was the rest of it. That was the history of that. So, but anyway, yes, the thing we were talking about, this release of, it's going to be called Songs from the Film and TV, or rather, Songs from the Movie and TV Vault, which is songs that a lot of them that never were on soundtracks, meaning All the Right Moves, Chasing Amy in the 90s. There's probably about 14 tracks on there. There's a movie called Defiance, very first movie I ever did, and I was so young. And that was Jerry Bruckheimer. It was his second movie, I think, and I wrote 4 songs in that movie. But there was a track on that album called Bad Times, which was the theme, which opened up the movie.
Yep. And
it was sampled by, who did that? You're the research guy. Come on.
I didn't get that one.
But anyway, it became a hit, an R&B rap hit, and I can't remember who did. Diggable Planets, that's who did it. Yeah. And but anyway, so I'm really proud of all. I went through so many songs from various movies. Let them be A movies or B movies. I just said, well, I just want to select. I don't care if they're not well known. I just want to select cool tracks that people had actually written to me about. Say, hey, how can I download, Monogamy Candy from Roswell or from a TV show? Or how can I get the thing from Fame that you did years ago? And so I just started thinking, well, okay, give the folks what they want,
Right.
So we put together this compilation, and I think you have something to play for the folks, don't you?
Well, you do know when I said greatest hits of the 80s, trust me, if a fan likes a movie and likes your song, to them it is the greatest hits. So remember that, because 80s music will never be forgotten. 80s music cannot be repeated. It just, it's like the 90s to me was horrendous as far as industrial rock.
Oh, come on. There was some good stuff in the 90s. Come on.
No, I meant like these bands like Pearl Jam and stuff like that. I just, being an 80s hair band guy.
You were committed.
Yeah. And
you were committed.
Yeah. And then when 80s hair metal died, it's like I was so resentful. But there is some good 90s. And I'm saying like Smash Mouth and stuff like that there. I kind of reverted to the opposite side during the 90s because there really wasn't no good 90s metal, except for old bands bringing albums out. But rock and roll, I don't know, I'm babbling again, but it's just, like I said, a lot of people are going to say, oh, yeah, that's the greatest hits to me. So, just don't cut yourself short. Listen, man, there's a significance to our youth by the music that we listened to during a period. Now, I'm imagining you were in your youth during the 80s. Yep.
And, it's an imprint on our hearts and soul, and that will never go away. And, the interesting thing is, I have that too, even though I've always prided myself on listening to and appreciating new, fresh music, it's just in my DNA. I just love I love new fashions, let them be clothes or new styles in movie making and what have you. But there is that thing from the time I was, 12 all the way up into, my early to mid-20s there's certain music that will forever be part of me,
right.
And I'm sure that's what you're talking about.
Right.
And it's not to say, in the 90s, and, there were some good things. And,
there is.
There were, but it was for another generation that was coming up, and, with the Nirvanas and the Pearl Jams and what have you.
Right.
That were, and then the Lilith aspect in the late 90s, so if there was, each generation grabs to their own, I guess, is the best way to say,
Yeah.
But I think it's important to be accepting of new art forms, Yeah. I think it's very important.
Yeah. Now, you have a new album coming out in July, right?
The album of new songs, it comes out. It's called The Groove at the End of the World. And actually, I have a clip that I think we put together for you that you can play which is the main song from the movie, from the album.
Yep.
But yeah, I just, I kind of went in and out because I was on the road doing gigs, and I would go back into the studio, and every time I'd come back to the studio, I'd go, no, that track doesn't work for the album. I've recorded over 35 songs for this album,
wow.
So, but it's like I still believe in the art form of an album. I'm sorry, and I totally appreciate the individual downloads and all of that, but I think, I just love doing it. I think it's just so much fun to create a thread of songs that sort of tell a story in their own way, and also giving the fans, what you are and what you're about. I think that, it's really for the fans that you make an album for, the hardcore fans,
Right.
But yeah, I'm really pleased with where this album, we're at the mixing, we've got a few more tracks to record, but we're mixing a lot of the tracks. And there'll be a few of the tracks from Emerging Past that will be on this,
excellent.
On this album as well. So I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased with where it's going. Definitely there's a lot of really good promotion going on come July, and just, a lot of good things. A lot of television shows are already starting to use tracks from the album and what have you, and we're shooting a couple of really solid videos that will go up on YouTube, and who knows where it goes.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a pleasure having you on here. But one thing I will say is I have the utmost respect for you. When I say that, anything from the 80s is, like I said before, it's part of my life growing up. It's like it sticks with you. And it's an honor to have you on my podcast.
Well, it's a pleasure being here. And by the way, don't beat yourself up about the 80s thing too much. You're not the only guy out there. In fact, there's a lot of young people now that totally gravitate to the 80s. I mean, when I've gone out I swear to you, when I've gone out on gigs, and I mean, there's like 20-year-olds telling me, God, you grew up in such an amazing time. I can't tell you the amount of times I've heard that, And they always equate it to the music. So, listen, there was a lot of great music in that. When you think about the various arrays of songs that came out of that from, from the Pet Shop Boys to, to Motley Crue, to In Excess, to, it was some fantastic, music. Tears for Fears. I mean, come on.
Thompson Twins. Culture
Thompson
Club.
Twins. Yeah. Oh, listen, we could go on, couldn't we?
Yes, we could. And I was this is so weird, but I was a big Michael Jackson fan. I mean, me being an 80s hair metal fan, anybody from the 80s who says they never listened to Michael Jackson, they're liars.
They're liars. There's no way to... hey, listen, and appreciated it. I mean, that been more said, because he really was a definitive artist. He was able to cross so many barriers.
Yeah.
I mean, country people liked him, So, it really, hats off to somebody that was able to create that kind of thing, I mean, there's something deep to be said about that.
What a lot of people don't know is Michael Jackson was the very first black entertainer to have a video on MTV.
Very true. Besides me. I'm black too,
Yeah.
Well, I have, I'll tell you one thing. I did, I love R&B music, and I do love hip-hop, you know. And, but, yeah, you're right. He was the first black entertainer to have...
and then I think Prince came second, I think.
I think so. I think you're right about that. That's interesting.
I get delirious. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
I sang to you now. Oh, boy. Are you vomiting?
The fans or me?
You.
It takes a lot for me to vomit, my
It wasn't that bad, I hope.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't that bad.
But anyways, is there anything else that you want to mention to the listeners?
No, just for all of you, good luck. Keep your heads up with this horrible economy that's trying to come back.
Really.
And I mean, I feel for everybody out there. You know, I mean, it's not a day that goes by that you don't see something. And you know, just because I do what I do, and I'm not living in some la-la land, even though I live in la-la land, being L.A.
Yeah.
You know, it's really, you know, I see what people go through, and we live in a very, you know, really rough and tough time, just on every level. So the one cure-all is music.
Yes.
And I want to give you the best music possible out there. So that's what I wish you all the best. And, yeah, thanks for being, and for the fans that are listening and the new ones, thanks so much for taking me on.
No problem. And I thank you for taking time out for me to do this interview. Like I said, you know, fan for life. That's basically what it boils down to. All it takes is one song to hit your heart, and it stays with you forever.
Yeah,
you know?
Well, I appreciate that. I can't tell you how much, and I, you know, love doing your show. So anytime, mate.
Thank you very much. You have a great, I guess it's evening there. It ain't quite dark yet, right?
I beg your pardon?
It ain't dark there yet, is it? No.
Not yet, but it's getting there.
It's dark.
I know, I'm sure it is.
Anyways, thank you very much. Keep in touch. I mean, it's fun. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Absolutely. All right, mate.
You take care, bud.
All the best.
You too.
On the edge of my tongue, to the lips of your fire, in the evening of this weary town. You're the calm in my storm, in my evil and good, as the world begins to cry and demise. Gonna wrap you up in me, I'm gonna take you to the diamond sea. I wanna start all over now. You gotta let go of the empty house. I wanna give you no regret, never look back in loneliness. Come and get into the groove with me. Gonna clear the black sky, make a love to change town, turn a shattered world into divine. Take the touch of my skin, let it go deep in, feel the rush of what I'm made of. Gonna wrap you up in me, I'm gonna take you to the diamond sea. I wanna start all over now. You gotta let go of the empty house. I wanna give you no regret, never look back in loneliness. Come and get into the groove with me.
Hi, this is Cheetan Mac, and you are listening to the fabulous Gruesome Herzog. Nobody better.